Hey, what's good YouTube? It's your boy Cardiac K and we back here with another video on the channel. First things first, as always, I want to thank everybody that watched my last video. And although I do appreciate every single person who clicked on that video and watched however long of it was, even if you immediately clicked off, I do want to say it's okay for y'all to like the video. It's okay. You can press the button. It turns blue too. It runs the synapses in your brain to where you get all giddy because you see the thing change colors because it's blue now, and you get to help out the boy, and you can comment your opinion on it too. Like, that was a pretty controversial opinion to say that, you know, the reigning champion just had a failed rebuild, but they failed it successfully. Anywho, I hope to see more engagement on the videos, the comments. I want to know genuinely what you guys think about these topics I'm talking about. Because at the end of the day, I think I have something to offer to you guys, and I hope that I can get some feedback on how you guys feel about these various topics. But aside from that, yeah, let's get straight into the video. Now, as you can see by the title, we're gonna take a second shot at talking about My Hero Academia. But the last video that I did on My Hero was a little over a month ago, maybe 2 months at this point. I don't know, I haven't seen the video in a minute, and that video is the worst performing video on my channel, but I loved making it, and I love talking about an anime series I genuinely like in My Hero Academia or other ones, looking at some of the things that aren't the most notable, but I find some of the best in the series, whatever series it may be. In the future, of course, will be things other than My Hero, but just to get started off the ground, I know a few of my friends like My Hero. I know that it's a very well popular and well renowned anime, and so I kind of wanted to talk about, well, the problem with it, or at least my problem with it, that has remained consistent throughout the series, in the anime and the manga, and has continued to go unaddressed for the now 5-year runtime that the series has been in circulation. Now, I want to start this video off by talking about the man in the thumbnail, the man in the mirror, Deku, the main character of My Hero Academia, who we are introduced to very early on in the story as he appears in chapter 1. And the thing about Deku is that we're introduced to him in a very interesting way. Right off the bat, we get the feeling that, yeah, this guy isn't the most popular guy, whether it's in his class or whether in its society. And of course, in the monologue of both the anime and the manga, before we're even introduced to him, we're introduced to the world of My Hero Academia, and we're told just how many people on this planet possess something called a quirk, which is basically just a superpower if you're unfamiliar with the series, similar to the X-Men, where everybody has their own mutation. In My Hero Academia, it's everyone has their own quirk, and it's literally just a genetic mutation that for some reason Deku, despite assumingly both his parents having it, we know his mom, we don't know his dad, he doesn't have a quirk at all. And so through Deku's backstory and through the beginning of the series, we're introduced to Deku as this kind of outcast, so to speak. He's an outcast from the rest of society, but he's not like a Naruto to where he's always swinging on the swing by himself. He's not an Asta to where he's just ostracized from the rest of the world. He just doesn't have a quirk, which, although yeah, that puts him in the extreme minority of the entire human population at this point, but there's actually no real ramifications negatively, at the very least, as to affect Deku's life for being quirkless. But regardless of that, we're then introduced to his middle school and lifelong bully in Bakugo, and he is Deku's rival for the rest of the series. If you've seen the series at all, you know Bakugo, you know his personality. As with this, I just want to cover the basis as to where we're introduced to not only the story of My Hero, but the story of Deku as a person and as a character, and the lens that's being crafted for us to look at him through this story. Now, as I said, My Hero Academia begins with very solid world building when it comes to the voiceover that Deku gives, and even just throughout the beginning chapters, showing us the different parts of this world that are filled with quirks, that are filled with superheroes, that are glorified on just the everyday streets of Japan. And it's amazing world building and characterization for characters that may or may not show up in the story later, when it comes to an All Might, when it comes to a Kamui Woods, when it just comes to the general human, when it comes to just the general superhuman superhero society as a whole. You get amazing context for that in the beginning chapters or episodes. In addition to just these first introduction pages or introduction episodes, throughout throughout the entire series of My Hero Academia, My Hero does an amazing job on touching upon the discrimination that, quote, evil quirks and people with those evil, quote unquote, quirks face. You see, the thing is, in a world of 98% of people having some sort of special ability or some sort of superpower, that opens the door for a different level of discrimination. And My Hero addresses that as in a multitude of different arcs, but specifically one of the training arcs in the series, early on in the series, I do believe season 2, when there's a quote villain that has to be chosen for a training course happening at UA High School, the high school in which our main character Deku and his friends attend as they're becoming future heroes in the world. The person that is selected to be the villain in this exercise is the person whose quirk and whose appearance most resembles a quote villain, and that's Gang Orca, as his quirk is basically just to be a shark. That's basically what it is. I mean, his name is Gang Orca. He looks kind of scary. Of course, sharks are scary, I guess, unless you pet them on the head and then they bite your hand off. But throughout the entirety of the story, from that instance to if you've seen the anime recently or even read the entirety of this arc in the manga, the My Villain Academia arc, where you have someone like Shigaraki who, because of his quirk, was discriminated against throughout his growing up years. And then you even have to take a look at the Todoroki family as to how quirks can have such a negative effect on the well-being of others, as you now have these marriages that are happening to try to combine quirks and create the strongest possible quirks, in the example of Todoroki and his entire family. But although My Hero does an amazing job of all this world building that I'm talking about, because that's all this is, it's world building, it's filling the watcher with information, showing, not telling us how the world operates, even though Deku's not ever present in all of these situations. But one thing that My Hero doesn't do at all throughout the entirety of the story is introduce us to a single, let alone meaningful or important, quirkless character in the entirety of the story. Now, although I do know, I believe that the movie that came out, Two Heroes, is technically mixed canon, mixed filler. I don't know which parts are filler or canon. I couldn't find any concrete information on that aside from just fan theories or the fandom website of My Hero Academia. So I can't guarantee that Melissa is canon enough for her to count as another quirkless person in the actual canon of the universe. But for the sake of the rest of this video, I'm going to assume that she is not either not canon, or that, like I said, she's not a meaningful character in any sense of the word in the My Hero story. And to me, given how realistic My Hero is with establishing and showing us the rest of its society, and given how we started this show off with a character like Deku who was quirkless, and that was one of the things that put him at such a disadvantage to accomplish his goal as being a hero, the fact that we're 300 chapters in and we haven't met a single other person that is also quirkless is mind-boggling to me. Now, there are a multitude of comebacks that you can hit me back with. Well, Cardiac, the point is that so little people are quirkless that why would we ever see it in the context of the story? Or Cardiac, why does it matter? And the thing is that those would be valid points if they were correct. First off, the first point, I can tackle that by saying that yes, it would be a convenience for us to bump into another 2%er in this entire universe, but hey, I hate to tell you guys, stories are built on contrivance. It was a contrivance that we picked up on Deku's life as he was exiting middle school and he was about to get the strongest quirk in the world. That's a plot convenience. It was a plot convenience that he ran into All Might to begin with. It was a convenience that we even followed the one of the only characters in this world that don't have a quirk. In addition, my rebuttal to reason number 2. Now, the reason why this matters so much, at least to me, like I said, this is either the biggest problem with My Hero or, in my opinion, the biggest missed opportunity in the entirety of the series. When you look at shonen anime or shonen manga or just shonen related series, specifically battle shonen, a lot of the times the biggest conflicts and the best written conflicts tend to be the main character or a side character facing a parallel of who they are. Let me explain. When you're looking at a series like Naruto, one of the things that makes all of Naruto's fights, with the exception of the Kakuzu fight, so amazing is Naruto's use of what we like to call Talk no Jutsu. And the reason why Talk no Jutsu is so effective in the story, despite any criticisms made against it, is because that every single person that Naruto fights, with the exception of Kakuzu, is a parallel to Naruto in some way, shape, or form. And especially the best fight in the series, or at least the best antagonist in the series, most would say, you have Pain. Nagato is a complete parallel to Naruto, all the way down to who they were taught by, to what they wanted out of the world, which is everlasting peace due to their actions. The only difference was Pain wanted to go about it by peace by pain, and Naruto felt like his ideals were wrong. They were a parallel because of where they came from in life. They were a parallel because of what they were taught. They were a parallel because their end goals were the exact same. They just had two completely different approaches that stemmed from pretty logical reasons. And the thing that made that fight and that entire conflict so good, on top of the ideological conflict, the backstory parallels between Naruto and Nagato, was the fact that Naruto's ideals didn't really beat Pain's. Now, don't get me wrong, at the end of the fight, Nagato literally says, "You beat me with your ideals." But when it comes to an actual conflict, or when it comes to an actual rebuttal that the character of Naruto would theoretically have to Pain's idea, he wouldn't have any. It would just be, "Hey, I don't think you should do that." Naruto doesn't really have a rebuttal to that because Pain's entire philosophy makes complete sense within the context of the series. And because Naruto understands exactly where Pain is coming from and exactly what Pain wants, that's what makes that entire conflict so amazing. Even if you look at something like One Piece, the dichotomy between Luffy and Blackbeard, despite their limited amount of appearances in the same panel with each other throughout the entirety of the One Piece story, the thing that makes their conflict so amazing, and what's going to make them climaxing pause at the end of this series, at whatever point in the series, whatever point in the plot, so amazing, is the fact that them two, and you can even throw a Kainu in there, are on three different parts of the spectrum of, I guess you could say, control and anarchy. As Blackbeard is of the complete thought that, hey, pirates should rule the seas. Why limit what you can do with your imagination? Everyone has dreams, and we can just allow everyone to achieve. Kainu has the exact opposite approach, with ruling by an absolute fist of justice that will just rule the entire new world and beyond, which completely contradicts what Blackbeard's ideals are about, which was the entire point of the Marineford War. And then you have Luffy somewhere in the middle, who believes that people should have a fair shot at accomplishing their dreams as long as it does not trample upon those of others. Because at that point, then you're hurting people for the sake of hurting people, and that's not okay in Luffy's book. Hence the entirety of the One Piece story. Hence Luffy punching the Celestial Dragon in episode 391. It's an amazing moment where Luffy's ideals are placed on the front row, and every single time that Luffy and Blackbeard have been in the same place, we've seen a conflict of ideals. The same with him and Akainu, and that's the best dichotomies in One Piece. The best conflicts in shonen are the ones where you can see a little bit of yourself in the antagonist. Not yourself, the watcher per se, but yourself in the main character. There's nothing that Deku can see in Shigaraki aside from the contrived and, I guess, the destiny aspect of them both being recipients of One for All and All for One respectively, and I guess it's destiny for them to keep fighting it every generation. But that's like if you stripped the Naruto and Sasuke relationship of everything and you just had the fact that they were reincarnations of Indra and Astra. That would be the equivalent of that in Naruto. And we can all agree that that's not what makes the Naruto and Sasuke conflict amazing. That's not what makes any conflict, any shonen amazing. Some contrived contrived destiny type bullshit. We actually complain about that a lot in different shonen series. I say all this to say Deku has no antithesis to his character. There's no one that is just the complete opposite of what Deku believes, because at this point in the story, Shigaraki doesn't even really idolize All For One like that. So Deku's complete idolization of All Might has no antithesis. It wasn't even Stain, who I think we can all agree, even at this point in the manga, is probably still the best written antagonist so far, but also it weakens any emotional ties to Deku that we once had, as because we don't have another example of who Deku was before the story started or before we saw him with this all-powerful quirk. Why was his life so bad before? And then when Mirio's introduced, and basically that entire arc is supposed to be justifying why it was cool for Deku to have One For All compared to Mirio. Number one, it did nothing but show me the opposite. But also, I think that's the arc where I first started to tell myself, like, why are we following Deku? I mean, everyone in Class 1A, every kid in the world at this point idolizes All Might and wants to be a hero. Yeah, people have their different reasons. Some people want to do it for money. You have someone like Idu who wants to continue the family name. But, I mean, Bakugo has the same wants as Deku. Most of the other people in his class have the same ideology as Deku. And the thing that is supposed to separate your main character from everyone else is an antagonist that plays a proactive part in the story and is also a parallel to your protagonist. And in My Hero, we don't have that. It would be amazing if the main antagonist of the series was quirkless or something. It would be amazing if we just had somebody in the series that was quirkless, that could give us more context to Deku's life, that could open up another more history of Deku's life, or his more feelings about what it was like to actually grow up quirkless, instead of that one scene with him sitting at the computer crying because he doesn't have a quirk. Okay, but most of all, like I said, this all could just be chalked down to just the biggest missed opportunity in My Hero Academia, in my opinion. Although I believe it goes even farther than that, because now you have a series with no parallel to Deku, at least on the antagonist side, and you have a series to where the beginning of the character's life that we're following, we have no idea about. And I think that makes the series not live up to the potential that could hit one day, or maybe it already has. I don't know. What do you guys think about My Hero Academia? The things I said in this video, your thoughts on the series overall. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like, make sure to comment and subscribe, and I'll catch y'all on the next one. Peace.